So my question is, what is the big deal about Charlie XCX? I personally felt like only white people listen to her, and I had heard her name before, but I wasn't really interested in that type of sound because I'm black, and I had no idea what her type of sound even was, or maybe my music taste just wasn't expansive. I don't know. That's better. Anyways, I remember kind of seeing her around the Tumblr era, but she has always kind of been like this niche artist who seems like, the only people who listen to her go to raves and used to watch Skins UK and used to cut themselves, really liked their type of music. Okay, that's a reach. I'm sorry. Anyways, I tried to watch Skins one time, but I remember it being really dark and it made me feel weird, and it definitely gave very Tumblr. And I don't know, that's just what Charlie XCX reminded me of. But I did see that yesterday she won several Brit awards. She won Artist, Singer, Songwriter, and Album of the Year for her album Brat. And if you remember last summer, people kept saying it's a Brat summer. And by people, I really mean 12 to 16-year-old girls. And that's not shade, because that is the type of demographic that literally decides what is cool. But Charlie never really received consistent recognition until recently. So I really want to explore what changed and I don't know what brat even ever meant. This whole brat Charlie XCX movement. So yeah, Charlie, she's kind of a gothic British girly who at first really creeped me out, and all of her old music was weird to me, but now I feel like I'm starting to get it. And I also want to talk about what emerging artists can learn from her career moves. So, Miss Charlie girl, her name is Emma. She is currently 32, and she was using MySpace to promote her music, and that's where she got discovered. And she came out with a song like in her early days called Nuclear Seasons, and that was on the album True Romance. That was one of the songs that really elevated her career. I listened to it, and it's actually so interesting. And it's really impressive, guys. I'm not gonna lie. It came out in 2013. Excuse me. It came out in 2013, so that was like 12 years ago, which means she was like 20 or 21 when the song released. And the song is so intense and it's filled with all these deep lyrics. And it's one of those songs that makes you feel like you were on ecstasy or something. Like you want to dance like a white girl in the club to the song. Like you want to just yes, like that type. I'm sorry, but that's the type of vibe it gave. Like I feel like that's what clubs were supposed to give, either that or booty bouncing music, no in between. But regardless, the song was very very impressive, and I think there's a word for it. It's called gothic pop. And I feel like if I had given the song a chance when I was like 12 on Tumblr, I would have been really drawn to Charlie in my Tumblr days. But I was too busy singing things like my tastes like cherry cola. My white friends put me onto that song, and I secretly liked it. And I really did like Lana Del Rey, but she low key scared me too. And I don't know if I actually could have handled all that. But yeah, so Charlie got her start. She got signed to a record deal, and she was just doing background stuff, writing for other artists until she was featured on the song I Love It by Icona Pop. I didn't even know that was her. The song goes, I don't care, I love it. That song. I love that white people song. Now, I'm very curious about the strategy behind making her popular. Like she's obviously very talented, but what was the engine behind it? Like is she one of those people who didn't have to do too much and just let the work speak for itself? Granted, she came out in the 2010s, which was recession, techno pop hell. It was very pop back then. Very Katy Perry. I feel like there was a lot of there was some cool sounds from artists like Drake and Rihanna. Oh, nah, nah, what's my name? That type of vibe. There was big names, but I feel like it was mostly annoying Forever 21 music, in my opinion. But what set her apart was the cool, super interesting like promos and interviews she did. Like she did this interview with The Guardian. And it was a lot of authenticity. I feel like we got to see her in authentic moments. They were asking her questions that was like really basic fandom questions like, oh, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What do you like to do? Like, they were literally setting up the first date for Tumblr stands, for fans on Tumblr to create pages about the girl, like how they did with a lot of artists back then. And I feel like that type of thing is really missing in today's culture. Like, sure, there are like fan edits of people and things like that, but like a real solid niche core fan base, that it's not what it used to be. It's not. People like people made it their obligation to be the president of someone's fan club at one point of time, and people like who related to whatever the artist represented in their lives made it their business to promote and discuss their artist's work. And I think what was really great about that is that these people were genuinely crazy and weird. Uh, okay, I'm kidding. But they actually were very genuine. Now it's like we all know it's a common tactic that people use to create, hype around the artist. Like the team does it. Even sometimes the artists themselves will create these fan pages to generate hype. But I feel like people really know when it's authentic because there are certain things that only genuinely obsessed stans can come up with. And Charli XCX had the Tumblr girls in a chokehold. She sure did. She was a part of that culture. And she was really being portrayed as this, or she is still being portrayed as this really cool, experimental, a little rebellious British girl. That aesthetic. I mean, that is how she got her start in the industry. She said in an interview with The Guardian that she loves making music because she doesn't have to justify the music and that it speaks for itself. And she also mentioned that she's very childlike. I feel like that she's like very unapologetic, carefree party girl. And that energy has carried from the 2010s into the 2020s. And I feel like that genuinely gives her a sense of creative freedom that we're missing today. Like she's the underground British rave girl who started making music for, the masses. And if I were to describe her brand identity, I don't think she's the pretty, popular, typical pop girl that we see. She's the girl that does her own thing, like a very British Tumblr babe, which also fit the aesthetic of the time when she was coming out. And it makes me wonder, like, is her art influenced by the time period back then, or was the time period centered around people like Charli XCX? Like, why was that aesthetic so cool at the moment? Like, it just felt very natural. And she talks about in a lot of her interviews how she's inspired by like the 90s bubblegum, pop star, the super fringe culture. She loves Clueless. She loves Britney Spears. And she allows herself to embrace like that cuteness in her music. And she's still very hipster. But the bottom line is she's very much herself, and her art is very much inspired by the things that she actually loves, the media she consumed growing up, which had cult followings and were only important if they made an actual impact in your life instead of like fleeting trends. In analyzing her interviews and her campaigns, I realized that she is a rarity nowadays. She's something that we don't get to see much anymore. Like somebody just literally being themselves. And she's not exactly trying to impress people with virality. She's exploring herself, her fashion, and allowing herself to evolve in an interesting way by truly and authentically being inspired by the time period that she grew up in and not by like what an audience, like not by trends. And I can only assume marketing an artist like Charli XCX probably feels very effortless because she is authentic to who she is and what she does. She is fully immersed in her own self exploration. She expressed in the Brit Awards speech that she has never really felt recognized, and she kind of told herself that, awards is not something that she really cares about because she never got one. But she did say it does feel good knowing that she did not have to compromise her art because she was trying to be the it girl at the moment. It's kind of like she represents what happens when a really cool subculture goes mainstream. There's millions of people who been know about her, but the public is just now adjusting, and it's organic, and I love it. I just love it. But yeah, this isn't a knock either. This isn't a knock on artists who chase virality. I hate when people do that. I think it's so pretentious and annoying because it's not 2011 anymore. The landscape has changed for artists who don't have a core fan base or any fans at all. Like TikTok kind of, the trendy thing is kind of what people have to do. But if anyone can take away something from Charli XCX's journey, it's, I feel like, calm down. Okay? Don't compromise. It's okay to have a vision and not waver. It's okay to not chase virality. It's okay to just sit in your artistry and still trying to express yourself in a way that people can understand. But, not everyone has to be like Benson Boone or Layla Banks or the latest TikTok star. Okay? Sometimes not going viral is okay, especially in the long run because it might be more rewarding. And it's important to let who you become as an artist be defined by what genuinely interests you as a person, and not necessarily your audience or an audience. I know that's a hot take, but I have believed for a long time that the more specific you are with what you like and what you do, the more inherently relatable that you will be to somebody out there. Marketing should be centered around the artist and what you have going on and what you represent, and not what you think the audience wants you to say and what you think the audience wants you to represent. I think that is so important. And on top of that, it's very important to have people who believe in your vision and don't try to rush you. Niche is better than general acceptance when you're a true artist, in my opinion. And if you truly have something to say, the money will come regardless. And if you stay true to yourself, the money will come regardless. And honestly, I feel like it's probably more rewarding and more fun that way. Patience is the key, my friends. And yeah, I really love that for Charli XCX. I can't say that I'm a diehard fan. I just literally started to explore her music, but I am inspired by her authenticity. I am inspired by her journey, and I am inspired by her choice to cater to the people who love her. And look where it's gotten her now. She's quite successful and been in the game for a minute. So, shout out to you, Charli XCX. You are now featured on All the Above. And I hope that you guys who are watching this, I hope that you guys lead the rest of this week with my microphone. I hope the rest of you guys lead the rest of this week with creativity, passion, love for what you do, who you are, and what you plan to create. All right. Bye, y'all.